Good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening for our special board meeting related to the superintendent search. Please excuse a bit of elevator music that we have in the background. Our search firm is calling in this evening to help us. We are going to call this meeting to order and start with a roll call. Ms. Lewis? No, ma'am.
Not on special ones. Okay. Ms. Williams?
Present.
Dr. Baker?
Here.
Ms. Davis?
Here.
Dr. Flores?
Present.
Ms. Lewis here. Reverend Matthias?
Present.
Mr. Ross?
Present.
Ms. Shockey?
Here.
President Grant?
Present. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Moved.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. We do have one public comment for this evening, Mr. Farage.
Madam President and board members, my name is Michael Farage. I live at 226 Ewell in Grand Rapids. Today could be a very historic day for the Grand Rapids Public Schools. Oftentimes, you hear people talk and they mention Mike Farage is active in politics and he's kind of the rival here. That's not the way it should be with our schools. Today could be a very historic day. You board members mainly were elected for this moment. Like it or not, our district has been marginalized, and there's two ways in life. There's winners and there's losers, and there's far too many losers or people not succeeding in our district. Today, this board has a chance to drastically change that, to take away the status quo. Like it or not like it, I don't think anyone is completely satisfied with the district. There are too many schools suffering, too many not seeing success. I'd like this board, before they start deliberating, and I know you've done a lot of work, to just picture this. Picture a district where you can't hire any more teachers because we're full, where this is the district to teach in or to work in. Picture kids from outside Grand Rapids going to Union and Ottawa because the theater programs, the arts, the athletics has just taken it to a new level and soared. Brother and sisterhood of all diversities coming together for one common cause. On the front of our agenda, the Grand Rapids Public Schools is an equal opportunity institution. It is dire that this board make a correct decision in hiring a proven winner so those people get that equal opportunity. So there is a district where people who attend school here, work here, or are part of it walk around with a pride of GRPS on their chest, in many ways the same manner I do my alma mater. And I wanted to point out, I saw this magazine, this is Rockford High School. It's 31 pages, all on athletics. This is the type of district, I believe, that if we succeed in academically and athletically, we can be the pride of West Michigan. I ask you to please consider my thoughts as very serious, and I thank you for making this decision. I know it's very hard to make. We have great candidates, but I ask you please to pick a proven winner. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one moment. We will have the search firm on the line.
this is Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Michael.
Hi, Mike.
Hi,
So,
Kristen.
so we are in the meeting and we're rocking and rolling. We are, well, I am going to turn it over to you all if you want to start an introduction. We are ready to get started.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you tonight. I'm Mary Fossbender. I'm the Midwest Regional Director for Ray and Associates, and Mike and I are coordinating this together. He's in transit tonight. I thought we would start the meeting by seeing, first of all, if there are any questions of any board members. Okay, you are down to 3 finalists. They're great candidates, and I would like to ask that each board member go around and simply state their opinions and preferences regarding the 3 candidates, and then we can have a discussion ensue after that.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mary. I didn't know that we were jumping right to that point. If you don't mind, if we can give a little bit of context, a little bit of opener before we get there.
Sure, absolutely.
So I know earlier you said that you would give a quick and brief overview of the 3 candidates. Just for
Absolutely.
the
I beg your
people-
pardon.
Thank you.
I'll just do them in alphabetical order. The first person, Eric Pruitt. He is currently Deputy Chief of Schools in Chicago Public Schools, a very large system, as you know. He does have his doctorate in educational leadership, and is somebody that is a former military person, but also someone who's been thought of as handling a lot of situations regarding instruction, particularly at the high school level, for the betterment of students and their achievement. The next person is Dr. Roby. She's an assistant superintendent in Richfield Public Schools in Minnesota. She also has her doctorate in administration. She is someone that is highly thought of in terms of being an articulate leader, someone who is very poised and relates well to staff members. And she's also someone who has developed some innovations for teachers that are compensation models. For references, view her as extremely competent, well-prepared, and poised for superintendency. The third candidate is Darren Slade. Darren is Assistant Superintendent of School Leadership for Kansas City Public Schools. He has his doctorate in educational leadership as well. He's been in a number of positions, but overall, he's someone that is a strong community member and educational leader. He is one that likes to engage with public groups such as PTOs and parent groups and so forth. He's been known to conduct home visits wherever needed. He's also someone who strength has been seen as somebody who's very committed to being a leader in order to improve student learning opportunities and outcomes.
Thank you. And so I do want to take a moment to have us all take the opportunity to reflect together, share some of our thoughts. Before we jump into that, I want to just say thank you very much to my colleagues. We have spent a lot of hours over this last week individually on our own contemplating. I speak for myself, but I also echo the sentiments of a lot of my colleagues that this was a hard decision. And the decision was hard because we had 3 candidates who were really qualified and who really exhibited some enthusiasm to come to this district. And we're grateful for that. We're thankful for that. But that makes this moment really hard to sit here and to give our thoughts and reflections. So I want to, before you guys get started, just thank you. Thank you for your commitment and your time. And let's take a moment to give reflections of some of the positives that really shine to you for the candidates. And we can also close with your individual comment by saying who you are supporting at this time. And once we do that, we can have some more discussion and lead to the next moment. Dr. Flores, would you like to begin?
Thank you very much. Likewise, I'd like to congratulate our board for making
the time necessary to review all of the candidates and participate in all of the interviews and really engage this in a serious manner as we do need to make a decision. And those decisions are difficult. When I look at decisions related to leadership, I look at it through a lens of over 30 years of experience here in the district, having served this district as a teacher and as an administrator and now as a board member. And as a member of the community, as an advocate for those students and those parents who may not have a voice, particularly the ELL community that I happen to have great engagement with daily. And so when I look at candidates, I look in terms of the lens of we need a leader that is willing to look at the district needs and do so in an equitable manner. And I looked at and asked questions of all of the candidates, and perhaps maybe we needed to go deeper, but some of the things that resonate with me is that, one, that they supported teachers in the classroom. Each one of these people were highly qualified in that respect and have the degrees that demand and carry respect for their position, for their knowledge and education. And so I'm looking for that kind of a leader, and each and every one of them had that skill. I'm looking for a collaborator, someone who can take our district and respect our negotiating, bargaining teams and our leadership there as a union, because I too was active in the union in a leadership role, and I believe in collective bargaining. I think that every one of them would give the respect that is needed to the bargaining units that we have, and would fight for equity in treatment, equality in treatment of our teachers. But I'm looking for someone who also is engaged in our community, who would be engaged in our community at the grassroots level, who would look at what the systemic societal issues that we face as a community of an urban, demographic, diverse population. And someone who is going to embrace bilingual education, who's going to embrace going into a community and engaging parents and providing them the kind of resources that they need so that they can properly motivate their children to become educated, because that's our end goal, and to raise the bar. So, and not to be too long-winded, but I think this is very, very important. Each one of these candidates also exhibited all of those traits. You know, leadership and making change in an organization is sometimes difficult. And sometimes people look at you when you're in charge as being autocratic. Well, you know, some of that comes with decision-making, you know, whether you're the president or you're a superintendent. I have to look at each and every one of these individuals and say, which one would I endorse to lead this district to the highest level? I'm a person who believes in 100% graduation rates. And there's only one candidate who said, I'll take it to 90%, and I'll do that extremely quickly. I'll analyze things. I have a plan. I have a pre-entry plan. I have an entry plan, and I have my first 100 days and what I would accomplish. I like dynamism. I like people who are committed to change. I like people who are looking at our district from a lens that they have served in other parts of the country, and they have served in difficult environments, and they have achieved. And I only found one candidate that had that really resonated with me as someone who could excite this community, and that is Dr. Slade. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Baker?
I would also agree with Dr. Flores. I think that we had some great candidates. I thought that they all taught us what leadership in school districts look like. They all brought great experiences, and I believe that they would all be collaborators. I left here last Monday feeling light for a change, leaving a board meeting, and it was because I think all of us feel that we carry the district, whether we all, none of us work for the district, but we all carry the district. And you know, I had felt uncomfortable with where we were at in terms of choosing leadership up until last Monday night. And when I left the meeting, I felt very strong that, and you know, not to take away from what Dr. Flores said, but I felt very strong that if Leadrine Roby was our superintendent, that you know, that some of that burden would be lifted and that the district would be great moving forward. There were three major reasons why I supported Dr. Roby. The first, I thought all of her answers, and I thought that this is the first time, and I've mentioned this when we deliberated our choices, but I thought once again, the thoroughness of her responses. So I didn't have to read between the lines, and I just want to mention three examples. She talked about, we asked both candidates, and again, both candidates had, all three candidates had good plans for how to address the achievement gap in the district. But Dr. Roby started with data on what the gaps actually was. She then taught us about the five gaps where these exist, and it's not just a difference, it's not just an academic gap, it's a belief gap, it's a time gap, it's a teaching gap, it's a preparation gap, and it's a leadership gap. And she came to that idea of cultivating good leadership throughout her discussion. Then so we had data, then we had an analysis of why the gaps exist, then we had a plan, and in relationship to reading, it was a full literacy wraparound, which she then brought to thought the whole community needed to be a part of. And then she had a specific example of something that she implemented, which was the mirrors, windows, and doors, where you would have a literature-rich background where students would see themselves reflected in curriculum and see the curriculum as opening windows and doors for them to see the rest of the world. Two other quick examples. Special ed. She started out with understanding what the inclusion model meant. She described it. She talked about her philosophy of gen ed, students first. She talked about co-teacher, and then she talked about her experience being a co-teacher in an inclusion model classroom. But even when she was asked about relationship to the city and community, she talked about strong partnerships around curriculum issues. So a community-wide book club. And in this particular case, she mentioned Green Card Voices, where people in the community spoke about their experiences being immigrants to this country. She talked about community-wide, locally. Then she talked about how she had a platform, state legislators, and how she would have to cultivate a relationship with the state legislators. And then she understood that in order to be effective with state legislation, that she needed to be partnership with other districts. So again, she was just consistently thorough in following through from the beginning of analysis to the end. Secondly, community feedback, I think, has been overwhelming. That first of all, and I think it's important if the candidates were watching, most people in the community liked all three candidates, but I was just consistently getting feedback that Dr. Roby, and this included parents calling me up, sending me Facebook messages, community members, administrators, teachers, et cetera, that there was a consistent analysis that she was the one. But I want to, the thing that all of these were very positive, but one of the things I kept noting, and it was kind of subtle, is that she talked about measuring goals. There's achievement goals, and I think that all superintendents measure achievement goals. We have a state mandated expectation of measuring teacher achievement and academic growth. But she talked about leadership goals, that it wasn't enough to simply give people metrics and expect them to meet those metrics. They were supposed to also be good leaders and cultivate their leadership skills throughout the year. And those are the things that really made me feel very confident that Dr. Roby would be the right person to lead this district. That's all.
Thank you.
All right, I left Monday feeling very excited about two candidates, Dr. Slade and Dr. Roby. So this week for me has been a process of reviewing my notes regarding the interviews, going back to square one with their cover letters, and reading all of the comments from the community. All of the emails and phone calls and all of those things have been taken into consideration, and I appreciate all the feedback. I was excited about Dr. Slade for many reasons. I'll just highlight a few, but I really appreciated his answer to the extracurricular programs and the way he spoke of sports and the arts as being a way to promote the love of our school system. I have highlighted on here that under the question of how will you ensure high educational standards are set and clearly communicated, I appreciated his answer that said he would have to monitor what he expects. So you can't just have expectations without monitoring those expectations. His answer in regards to what a good principal does, being visible, being an instructional leader, and being an advocate for the school, that really resonated with me. And I also left being very excited about his answer. How do you provide oversight and or lead others who have direct responsibilities in a district this size? And he had said you have to be able to do the job yourself. So he talked about how he doesn't like to lead or tell somebody how to do something unless he has had experience doing the same thing. I was impressed with his presentation, and I was impressed with the quality of his answers and the thoroughness of his answers. Moving into Dr. Roby, a lot of the reasons I was excited about her mirror exactly what you said. So I don't want to be too repetitive, but she said no matter what would she protect financially? And she said the classroom. She would keep cuts away from the students in the classrooms. I appreciated her answers that involved the fine arts. In cutting programs, she talked about asking the question, can we create partnerships to save programs? Can we write grants and work with the community? She talked about having a son who is musically involved. And so I feel like she knows the importance of the fine arts. I also appreciated her answer with partnerships with the city and with legislators and the book study example. I thought her special education answer was very strong for many of the reasons you said. I really liked that she highlighted having co-teachers be part of the PLC as well, and that she began her career as an inclusion teacher. A lot of the things Dr. Baker said were things that I highlighted, but when it came down to it, I decided on Roby throughout this process based on community input and feedback. I thought that there was lots of great input regarding all of the candidates, but that she stood out as being a level above. I was thoroughly impressed with her presentation. I appreciated that it was very specific and detailed based on data for our district, and she showed us that right from her cover letter. A lot of the candidates we were presented with, their cover letters were very generic, and she, right from the get-go, mentioned specifically Grand Rapids Public, and I feel like she came to the interview very prepared with who we are and who our community is, and did her research based on us, and I think that's important to all of us. I also felt like the feedback I got from the community that was positive in regards to supporting specifically Roby came from all different venues, so nonprofit leaders, parents, teachers, administration, all different areas were fully in support of her, so that's where I am at this time. Thank you.
Well, did a lot of reflection in this process as well. Went back and looked at the interviews 2 or 3 times. Went back and looked at our board meeting from our previous candidates where we decided not to move forward. And I looked at what we said we wanted and what was lacking in those candidates and compared those same statements to what these candidates brought to us. So overall, I thought all of the candidates had the leadership experience at the cabinet level that we were stating we wanted. They spoke to concerns regarding recruitment, staff morale, professional development for teachers, curriculum development, collaboration with stakeholders. I think it was clear that they are all very qualified. Yet, whether or not they're all qualified for this district, I think we are looking for something more. So I don't think I learned a lot of information in other areas. I feel like there was limited information provided about initiatives that the candidates directly started, data from the candidates to support their experiences. I did not hear how the candidates would address the growing Latinx population and Spanish-speaking students of our district. I personally found that candidates had less than the ideal experience in the following areas as well: strong personal experience with closing the achievement gap, CTE and work-based learning, record of success working with English learner students, experience with instructional leadership for students with different abilities, demonstrated ability to advocate for public education at the local, state, and federal levels, management of operations and facilities, demonstrated experience with growing and enhancing sports and arts programs, and experience with equity-based initiatives. So, in thinking about what type of leader I believe we need at our district, I am looking for a leader that is stable, energized, visionary, and has a growth mindset. I'm not certain that we have found that candidate in our final 3 selections. I'll be honest about that. However, to that end, if I'm forced to choose, and I say it that way heavy-heartedly, but that's how I truly feel, and I want to share that with everybody as well. I believe that Slade's background and experience best aligns with what the board laid out in our job search profile.
Ms. Shockey?
All right. Well, like Dr. Baker and Dr. Flores and Ms. Davis, I did leave our interviews feeling excited and energized and hopeful and ready to move forward with a decision. Like all of my colleagues, I too have spent a considerable amount of time in the last weeks rereading notes, watching videos, evaluating data. But even more so than I have spent time thinking about my own personal beliefs about what this district needs, I've been reflecting on what it means to sit here as a member of this Board of Education as an elected official. And I've been reflecting on how to be an elected official means that I am asked to listen. That is why we vote. We vote for someone who we think will listen and represent our views. And so I've really known that throughout this week, it's been my responsibility to all of you to listen to the feedback and to, yes, use my own wisdom of being on a board for this long and knowledge of the district, but really to listen to those who are in the classroom every day, to the administrators who will answer to this individual, to our community members who will partner with our district and our leadership. And so I've taken very seriously every comment that has come to me via email and through the surveys, and I'm so grateful for the feedback, because that is really, truly how I believe we should make decisions through our own knowledge and then through the voices of those who communicate to us. This evening I am supporting Dr. Roby, although I was too excited about Dr. Slade. The reasons I'm supporting Dr. Roby, I remember early on when we first saw just the data about all the candidates that had applied, that she was only applying to Grand Rapids Public Schools. She just wants us, and that stood out to me from the beginning. She wasn't scared to address the gaps. In her first interview, she met those head on. She saw that we have some places we need to work, and I appreciated that she took the courage to face a board and say, hey, there's some work to do, and this is where I see we need to do it early on. She often mentioned that she will ask for the teacher voice first, and there's no one that knows the classroom better than the teacher, and so I appreciated that about her leadership style. To echo my colleagues, she mentioned emphasis on arts, athletics, and special education, all of which matter in this district. And the 3 adjectives that she used to tell us how others would describe her: collaborative, equitable and outcomes-driven, and strategic. As I think about the city of Grand Rapids and where we are poised today, we are collaborative. We are strategic, and we're really emphasizing equity in our city for the first time, I think, in a long time. And it's a really exciting time for the city of Grand Rapids. There is much work to be done. But when we asked her the question about equity, she said, "This is just me. This is the work I've been doing my entire career." And so for those reasons, again, that's why I'm supporting Dr. Roby this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I too spent a lot of time reading their letters of recommendation and the recommendations that the teachers, the cabinet, the public at large, the students, all of the comments that were made. I too thought that Dr. Slade was a very good candidate, but when it comes right down to it, I have to support Dr. Roby. I like the way she feels about teachers. I think that the consensus among the community is that she will make a good superintendent, so I will support Dr. Roby.
Mr. Ross.
I guess I'll start and say I don't know how confident I am in casting the vote at this juncture. I guess maybe I got about 10 minutes or so. We'll see. But frankly, I would like to get some more information on what's personally my top two candidates, Dr. Slade and Dr. Roby. Would like to get a better understanding from the people who work with them, their perspectives about their leadership and how they have engaged in their respective communities. I think, at this juncture, there's a lot riding on our decision. And frankly, I guess even from sort of the split perspectives that we've had as we've gone along the way here, I don't get a sense that there's any unanimity as far as being 100% behind anyone. And frankly, I just think we should get more information. But absent of additional information, at this point, I lean towards Dr. Slade. And frankly, I think Dr. Roby is probably a more well-rounded educator from a curricular perspective, a pedagogical perspective. But I get a sense that Dr. Slade is maybe more of a leader in a way that I think would help us, as he said in his presentation, go from good to great. I think he would lead by example. I think, I took a fair amount of time, reached out to probably about 30 some odd people who work for the district in different capacities. And the majority of the folks that I talked to at the classroom level appreciated his transparency, his honesty, his commitment, his passion, while at the same time they recognized that he still had the appropriate educational qualities. But again, there were some of those intangibles that folks felt like he would really be a change agent in the appropriate way, and not at all change for the sake of change. And I think, and to that, he even mentioned repeatedly that he had high praise for GRPS, and that he didn't see this as some sort of turnaround situation. And I think as a result, there wouldn't be, again, a change just for the sake of change. I think there would be a change based on the sake of what's best in the classroom and what's best for students. And really overall, when it came down to siding between the two, I really just felt like he would be more responsive at the building level. He laid out some clear and tangible methods to support teachers in the classroom. And frankly, I think that's the most important thing for the district, is ensuring that teachers have what they need, be it the skills, be it the tools, be it the supports to educate our children. I appreciated, frankly, his competitive spirit. I get the sense that he really would, I think we talk about us being a world-class district, and I think he would take that to heart and really grind hard to do all he can to make that happen. You know, I also took the time to reach out to folks at his former high school, H.D. Woodson in D.C., and the folks I talked to there asked particularly about, you know, his leadership style, and folks did say that he was a strong leader that was able to listen when there may be some disagreements with whatever he wanted to do as a leader. From a budgetary perspective, folks there also gave him some praise on how he, you know, made things happen within the auspices of the budget autonomy he had at that level. And just all around, I just have a certain degree of confidence that, again, he would be someone to help take us from good to great. And so at this point, again, that's where I throw my support. But I definitely still would like to get more information on the strengths and maybe concerns of each candidate. I would like to find more about validating the data that they share with us as far as whatever initiatives they were involved in. And again, I would like to know from the folks that they've worked alongside of and the folks that they've worked for and over, you know, really just more about how they engage and how they deal with tough decisions and again, just how they do their work.
Thank you. Reverend Matthias?
Yeah, I did a lot of reflecting and got a lot of feedback from people, emails, calls, and I think one of the things that I appreciate most is the engagement that I saw from you all, from our constituents, from our families, and our students. All of the candidates got their most difficult questions asked by the students who have to receive the education. And that shows a lot. They weren't students that were handpicked to sit there and ask, you know, cute questions. They were students who felt empowered enough to say, what about this? And so I found that invigorating sitting here now. I think for me as a community member, a therapist in the community, having worked in the district as a counselor, working with students and teachers and parents, working in community-based counseling and seeing a lot of the real struggles that our families face that they don't leave at the doorstep of our schools. They enter in with them. And then the teachers that are confronted, I work with a lot of teachers that really struggle with how to teach with as many students as they had, or that mixture of IEP students. I struggle with the word wanting to see every student as gen ed. Because not all of our students are like that. And so we do have to balance that, the IEPs and whatever we think that looks like as far as a general ed student versus a student who really struggles in particular areas. And we, as most districts, struggle with creating that balance in the classroom, especially with the classroom sizes given, you know, all the economics and so forth. I think all of these candidates offered some sense of relief in looking at classroom size or looking at helping teachers understand teaching models that help students, or engaging parents in a way that allows some further things to take place. Like any district, we're struggling with those things. All of them brought, obviously, educational experience. I think we asked for, rather than being administrators, that they be actual teachers that were in the classroom in their beginning stages of their career and then advanced. All three of them met that qualification and then went beyond that. I think for me, Slade probably represented more of what I would say the hood, having come from an urban context and then really struggle to make it or struggle to find their way. All of them, I'm sure, have all of those kinds of experiences, but I found him invigorating in the sense that he wasn't afraid to talk about leadership style and perhaps having to take the reign, as you all know, superintendents do. One of the, I guess, the struggles that I had was that all three of them, this will be their first superintendency, heading the helm in that sense. They seem to be ready for it. They seem to have equipped themselves enough. I was refreshed with Roby's approach, being able to balance having a vision and a target, but also collaborating and bringing people along. I enjoyed her talking about the third grade initiatives, and then from that, it cascading up into the elementary, middle school, and high school, and bringing some sense of that, bringing some balance into our neighborhood schools and our theme schools, and figuring out how we take the best practices and transform them into our neighborhoods and vice versa. In having to make a decision, I feel as my colleague, for me, I guess the next level would be that we take some time to get some other data and input from folks at the grassroots level from their context as they come to, again, rise to a superintendency, that they would be able to make that transition. And so for me, it would be, let's dig deep into some other arenas too for them in terms of their leadership style and what others say about them. In terms of a person that I would want and feel that our community would be asking for, I think Roby would be that person. I got a lot of calls and a lot of emails from folks feeling as though she would be that person. Perhaps it's that it might make the change transition easier. I'm not sure, but I think fear of change is definitely a reality in our district. What is this person going to bring into our community, and how is it going to change the administration, the cabinet, and certainly the teacher, students, and parent involvement. And so it's so critical. I feel like our community is ready for that. Our constituents are ready for that. But I would say that, I would have to say that I would want to go with Roby.
Thank you. Okay, well, I guess it's my turn. I was looking around to ask someone else, but it's, okay. I don't think that there's something to be said about the candidates that we haven't already said. We had 3 amazing candidates, and through conversation and through revisiting the interviews, the feedback, the documents that we had, to me, the decision did fall between Dr. Slade and Dr. Roby. And I think that was based on the visions that they shared for the district, the work that they've already done, and the connections that they made as they met with students and teachers and community members, parents. As we talk about what the next decade for this district looks like, and when I say we, I mean staff, administration, board members, we have said in many different ways that the next 10 years has to be an evolution of the culture at GRPS, a real investment in curriculum in the classroom. And so that's also something that really led those two people to stand out to me. But beyond that, me thinking about the child that I have in the district. And so we all invest a lot of time, but a lot of us have invested our greatest asset in this district, and that is our children. And so thinking of the type of person that we need to come in and create change and build relationships that not only influence generations to come, but my child, your child, who currently exists in this district right now, who are growing in this district right now, is really where I landed. You know, we have so many abstracts that we think about, but my daughter is really, you know, where I landed and when I thought about where we're headed as a district. And it's a very hard decision. And we were in a different hard decision several months ago. And so we keep saying it's hard, but I'm grateful to be in this different type of hard place this time. But with all that being said, I do support Dr. Roby. Also, what I realize is that we're having, there are a couple of different outcomes coming from this conversation. So there is some support for Dr. Roby. There's some support for Dr. Slade. There's also a few of our colleagues asking to have some additional information. Mike, Mary, I'm going to lean on you all to address the different pieces that have come out of that feedback.
If you were to drill down further and determine what specifically you needed from a candidate, you know, that could be something that could be provided. The challenge is not all three of these candidates are just looking at your district. We know that to be true from what Dr. Roby indicated, but we don't know that to be true for Dr. Slade or Dr. Pruitt, for instance. So you don't want to run the risk of losing candidates because you're just prolonging, you know, your decision ultimately. And some of that could happen where you specify with the help of Mike and I what more specifically you wanted, whether it centers on the student data side, whether it centers on what you've done so far with your efforts with equity, and if you need more information, whether it's your bilingual learners. I heard all of those as kind of themes around this, and some of it centered on programs. What specific programs have they helped to implement that have led to success for children in the school? So that could happen. It's just a cautionary tale to not prolong it out so long that you don't have an option that you once had, because people are out looking and, you know, other districts are moving forward with their decisions. At this point, based on my calculations, you know, you have a majority of the board that has an interest in putting forth a motion or an option to select Dr. Roby with 6 of your board members. And then you have 3 board members who are supporting Dr. Slade.
I do have a question for, is it Mary and Mike? Mary, forgive me if I sound a little snide, but throughout this process, Rand Associates has touted itself for the extensive work that it does, particularly in this regard, some of the background checks. And I would think if any of these candidates were viable somewhere else at this juncture, that based on how you presented yourself with us, that you would know about that by now. I wouldn't think that something would fall out of the sky in that regard. So I guess I'm curious about your concern of whether or not they're somewhere else. If they were, it would be public information.
Well, that's not true in every state. Your state, Michigan, is one of 6 in the country that's called the Sunshine State. So throughout the process, the candidates' names are revealed. That's not true in the other 44 states, however.
Okay.
So, you know, I know for a fact a couple of these candidates from other searches that I've worked, so I know that they are out looking at other districts. They feel they're ready to take the next step. And in so doing, that's what led to my remarks. It is something that is feasible to, you know, think about whether or not you want to frame what these interests are, but it's very rare in this day and age with all the things that are on social media and available to learn about a candidate that people do site visits. That's very, very rare. Obviously, it's an added expense and it's a coordinated effort. The candidates typically are certainly going to provide you with the names of the best people that they think are going to support, you know, their best efforts. So that's one piece. We have done the background check on all 3 candidates, and including all the criminal background check and so forth, and they've all come out without issues on that. So I'm not sure which direction you were wanting to take that conversation. I apologize if I didn't understand your question exactly.
No. Thanks for the clarity, though, with the, again, Michigan just being one of 6. That was an education point for me, so thank you.
Yeah, you're certainly welcome.
President Grant, may I make one more? When we asked people, we had like 5 questions, and the respondents were asked to rate the candidates. And one of them is this candidate a good match for Grand Rapids Public Schools? And for Dr. Slade, we had 39.11 saying that. And for Dr. Roby, we had 50.46 saying that. So percentage-wise,
They strongly agree.
strongly agree.
So I do want to make sure that we have all stated that all of the candidates were amazing, were highly qualified, and so I want to make sure that we are still in this discussion keeping a positive light of all of our candidates. I think we can conduct this conversation that way. So before we give additional comments, I want to make sure that we are keeping in that way. Did you have a comment, Ms. Jackie? No. Oh, okay. Okay. Dr. Baker, I'm sorry, someone had an additional comment here? No? Okay. Dr. Forrest.
Yeah, I'd like to certainly give my impressions of Dr. Roby too. I did find her from the outset to be super highly qualified and very impressive for many of the things that you've said, Dr. Baker, and others, other board members. And in the interest of consensus building and whatnot, I wonder if this board might not be interested in a proposal that or a proposed motion that we provide a vote of unanimity in support of Dr. Roby at this point, so that certainly the community messaging that we give and to the candidate is one that we believe that each and every one of these individuals was highly qualified and would be well suited to lead this district. And I, for one, would support that. But before making that motion, I would like to have some opinion on that.
Well, Dr. Flores, I would say that I would rather have my vote stand for what it is. And that doesn't mean I don't support. I will support any person that this board decides to vote as the superintendent. That will not change at all. However, I believe the community put me here not to go along to get along, but to give a voice and to speak to that voice. So I would rather provide my vote for who I choose to provide it for. And I don't think that is a disrespect to the candidates as much as it is a respect to the community and to the voice that I believe I'm speaking to.
At this time, do I have a motion in general? It may not be the exact motion that you put forward, but do I have a motion? Or are you all hoping to have some?
Okay, I move that the board approve the hiring of Dr. Roby as our next superintendent.
Support.
Yes, please.
Ms. Williams?
No.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
No.
Ms. Shaki?
Yes.
President Grant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mike and Mary, do you all have comments for us as we wrap up?
Yeah, if I may, Harry, if you don't mind for 1 second, I
No.
tried to be silent. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm only trying to be silent out of respect because I am in an airport, and I apologize when we moved the meeting, I couldn't change what I had. I just want to say that I think what you all have done and what you all have said and where you stand is such a reflection of each of yours sincerity that I have grown to know, love, and appreciate since I think the first time I met you might have been the end of June or beginning of July. And where you are now, if you choose, and it's not a must, if somebody wants to move to make this unanimous or whatever, that's your privilege. It is not a must. But I hope your community understands that this is not a divided board. This is a board of real thoughtful people who have done phenomenal homework, who may not quite agree. But when I listen to, I'm pretty sure, Mrs. Williams, it was your comment, I've gotten to know you well enough to know your voices, is that you know, or all of you, it's not just you, Mr. Williams, but you will support the will of the board. So I just want to say to your community, they're very fortunate to have this level of thoughtfulness, this level of concern, and these many good ears who will really care about their community and the community's thoughts as well as their own opinions, and the opinions of people they care about the most, their own family and your staff. So I just want you to know that what you've done is such a reflection of how I see you and why it's been such a privilege to work with you. And I want to say congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate your assistance through this process. I know that we have taken the vote.
Mike and I will work together, he in particular taking the lead to get a hold of the candidate and go ahead and go forward with the contract information and so forth. And he'll work directly with you as president on that as well. And I echo Mike's sentiments. I'm very impressed with the thoughtfulness that your board has. It's very refreshing.
Thank you. And before we adjourn, I do want to give my colleagues a moment to provide closing comments if you would like. Dr. Flores?
I'd like to thank the community that was very active also in sending emails and text messages and Facebook messages to me on this decision. You know, it's all of our decision. But at the end of the day, you know, we have to take the vote. We have to make the vote. And I know that all of my colleagues, you know, although we sometimes share different opinions, and we certainly had some divergent opinions here on the candidates, at the end of the day, you know, we want to make Grand Rapids Public Schools a lot better than what it is today. And that's not to say that we're bad. It just means that we have to continuously improve upon the outcomes that we expect for our children and the respect that we demand from our community. And we get that by raising the bar, raising achievement, and raising equity for all children. And so as we continue forward, even though, you know, it may not seem that we have a unanimous vote, Again, I think we selected a great leader, and they were all great, but I think that we selected the right leader at this point, and I want to support this board and just say, hey, you know, our votes are important, and we lead by example, and you've done a great job. I'm proud to be part of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it was just feeling the weight when we voted. I was really surprised how much it felt. So this is the second time I've made this vote, and this one was much different. So I want to say and this is for if the candidate ever watches this, I think that a superintendent is lucky to have this board. But I think the superintendent is lucky to have Mr. Ross and Ms. Williams as board members, regardless. And so I think that this should not be seen as any sort of a vote of no confidence or a lack of willingness to work. I know Mr. Ross well over the years and contributes much, and I really appreciate Ms. Williams. I didn't know where you were at. I knew you were disappointed, and I really appreciated the way you framed your decision tonight, and I respect it. And I think that the other thing that came across from this is, and this is my perspective, I think that we're a better board and a better school district than we were a year ago. And I think that we know more. And one of the things, and this goes to a comment that Dr. Flores said, that there came to be this shared understanding in the community and the board and the administration and the teachers that we were all in the same place. The candidates picked up on it. They all knew exactly what the work was, and we all seemed to share it. And I think that that's a place that we weren't there a year ago. So I think that a difference is that we're in a better place to go forward as a district. And I'm really excited, and it's really great to be a part of this community working on education.
I just want to say I'm very excited for us and for our students and for Dr. Roby. I think it's going to be a great fit. And I want to say thank you to everyone as well for participating in the process. And I greatly appreciate anytime somebody reaches out to share their opinion with me. That's why I'm here. I want to represent our community well. So thank you for any input that you have given, and I welcome any emails, phone calls in the future as well. And I also want to echo what these two gentlemen said in saying that I really appreciate our board and each individual. I highly value you for our differences, and I learn so much every time each of you speaks. So thank you for being brave and for speaking your mind. And that's it. Thank you.
Mrs. Williams?
I'd like to thank the community, my colleagues on the board, and the GRPS staff. You all have made this very easy for us in ways that people don't really understand. So thank you to the staff. I really, truly appreciate your efforts in supporting us during this search. And congratulations to Dr. Roby, and congratulations to GRPS.
Oh, what an honor and privilege it is to serve this district. And it feels remarkable to make a big decision for our children and our staff like this. So thank you for the opportunity to serve. Thank you to a couple of unsung heroes. Julie, you've been amazing. Thank you for helping us every step along the way. To our AV team, thank you back there in the booth. You don't hear thanks enough for broadcasting to the community and making this accessible to those who can't be with us in this room during this process. To echo Dr. Flores, we selected a great leader, and I am very excited about the future of Grand Rapids Public Schools. And to, I guess, echo sentiments again from my colleagues who said it so eloquently, you know, we are a body of 9. That means that we may not always agree, but ultimately we are one. We are one decision-making body. And I know in the future there will be days that I may not agree with my colleagues, but I have so much respect that we can disagree and move forward as one. So thank you, Mrs. Williams and Mr. Ross, for that. And let's get to work. I'm ready.
Yes, I'm very proud that we made this decision tonight, and I'm very proud to serve on this school board. It's been a blessing in my life especially at this stage of my life, to have an opportunity to make new friends and not just the people that hang out at the nursing home. So I'm, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to be here. My fellow board members have taught me so much, and having this opportunity has been a blessing in my life, and I am so grateful to be a part of this decision, and I'm very proud of the decision we made. And congratulations, Dr. Roby.
Thank you. Mr. Ross?
I guess just, to congratulations, Dr. Roby, and I guess it's a statement for anyone who may be concerned. Please don't misinterpret a vote that wasn't unanimous as anything equating to less than unanimous support. I think as a board, there's no question that whoever the superintendent is, that this board is going to go hard in supporting them and what they try to do for this district, that everybody sitting up here is going to go hard in paving the way for Dr. Roby in our respective, arenas throughout the city, and that, again, a 7-2 vote does not mean that it's a split board by any stretch. Again, I know the people I'm serving with here, and I know the commitment to support whoever the superintendent is, and I am not at all disappointed that our next superintendent is going to be Dr. Roby. I have great confidence in her curricular perspectives, her pedagogical philosophies, the way that she engaged with everyone, the board, folks in the community, teachers, et cetera. So I don't expect anything but great things for her, from her, and definitely I'm gonna do all I can to get behind her and support her in every way possible. Of course, I want to thank Dr. Slade for his interest in our district. If you are listening, I believe in you. So please, I think there's a quality there that I guess I'll be honest that maybe I'm the only one who recognized it, but hey, it is what it is. But again, so really, again, just nothing but unanimous support here, and I'm excited about what's to come. And I was going to thank Julie as well. Julie, probably the hardest working person in GRPS. No slight to anyone else for sure, but she certainly definitely gives her all for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Reverend Matias?
Yeah, I think this is what unity in diversity looks like. To be able to disagree, unlike some political arenas, but for the sake of the community, come together and wrestle with tough issues, and still work together and not remain in your camp, so to speak. I so appreciate our diverse community, and you all chimed in so many ways, stopping me in the street, texting me, from your vacation place. You all chimed in because clearly you're interested in the success of the next superintendent. And so we want to congratulate Dr. Roby on her appointment by this board. And also to our teachers and staff, we have a lot of work to do. And so we got to roll up our sleeves and work together. I think for our students, we want you to get excited about your future. You have a promise zone starting this summer. And so that means that you can start off right away in your college preparation. And so we want to encourage that. To our businesses and our supporters, we want to encourage you to continue to come into our schools. We need you to work with us, especially as this district makes this transition. And so I really appreciate the input of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. I will keep my comments brief. I just want to thank everyone for their commitment and their work. This process has not been easy, but hopefully one thing that everyone will walk away with is that this board did not take this decision lightly. It's something that we were very dedicated to, and that we really understood the weight of this work. As I was thinking this weekend and over the past week, as Dr. Flores said, it was really an effort that wasn't in isolation. It included so many people around our community. And that's a blessing because at this point, this is our superintendent. And the onus is not just on her, it is not just on the administration or the teachers to carry the work out, but the community really weighed in heavily on this decision. And we're going to be calling on that same community to support her, to come to the table and really show up for our kids, to bring what assets and resources you have to move this district to the next level. And so just as we listened, be ready to answer our calls as we're knocking on your doors to really get to the heavy work. And that's why I'm so excited that we have taken your opinion into account, because you're a part of this now. And so thank you very much for your time. Meeting adjourned.